Tim Dunn is a railway expert and train historian who's here to talk about the fourth series of the Architecture the Railways Built, where he'll be exploring stunning architectural wonders that line the railway network across the UK. In this new series, Tim will be celebrating the radical design and construction of not only station buildings in major cities, but also tiny rural stations that serve small communities. The show goes beyond stations, exploring other structures like viaducts, signal boxes, underpasses, tunnels and railway hotels, all of which owe their existence to the railway. And Tim joins us now. Good afternoon, Tim.
Hello, thanks for having me.
So, it's the fourth series.
Yeah.
I take it you're going to visit the fourth bridge.
Boom, boom. I often have to pinch myself and go, we've done 4 series of this. I thought we'd get a series out of this, but actually, never in my wildest dreams we think we get this. But actually, it's because on the face of it, you think a programme about architecture and railways can't be that interesting, surely. But it isn't really about the architecture, isn't about the railways. It's about the people and the places and the stories and the things that happen around it. And it uncovers so many beautiful, wonderful truths of lovely, wonderful things. And you're right, we go to the fourth rail bridge, and I wanted to do this really actually for 4 years. And we get to go there tonight, actually, on the first show of the new series. And we get to go up the very top of the bridge. And because I always wanted to go up there and learn a little bit more about the people who built it. And of course, actually, we will forget this now, but actually, the fourth rail bridge was built by hand. It was a hand-built bridge, constructed. A lot of people were actually kids almost when they were building this. 24/7 were up there with electric lights and oil lamps, up in the gales, in the middle of the night they were building that bridge. And people died on it. And going up there, actually, although I didn't conquer my fear of heights, you do get some appreciation when you're up there. Go, my goodness, it's nothing to what they had to deal with, because you are up in the middle of the air, so far above the train tracks and the rest of the water, and you're thinking, crikey, how do they build this? And it gives you a real appreciation of it. And of course, suddenly you get to take 500,000 people with you. And it's like, wow, this is amazing. You're coming with me on this journey of exploration up this massive building. It's wonderful.
Obviously, I'm biased because on a clear day, I could probably see it from my house. But it seems so obvious, that bridge. Why has it taken 4 series to get to it?
Well, a couple of reasons. One, because of my fear of heights. And I get series 2, I was like, I'm not going up it. But also because over COVID times, it was quite hard to get the right places. And it's because they've put a new lift in on one of those big, on the north end of the bridge, actually, on the north pier. You can actually go up the side of it. And in COVID times, the lift was too small for us to go up there. And actually, we filmed 2 of our 4 series during COVID. So, and the first series was long. It was gosh, so long ago.
Yeah,
I think people, it was 3-4 years ago. People didn't know who we were at the time. I didn't know we were going to take this seriously. And we're very lucky. Not many film crews get access to this kind of thing, because television people often get a bad rep, for going in there and doing things quickly and disappearing off again. But because I think over a couple of years they've gone, hang on a minute, these people really care, and they do. They've got real love for this stuff, because I came up with a program years ago. We talked to some producers and we collaborated on it, and it's all about how we show off good people doing lovely things who love something. And that's what it's at the heart of it, really, is sort of, we get to meet experts who, frankly, they spend longer than their hours and their pay should really, not because they have to, but because they want to. And this is what shows us. All these buildings, some are so beautiful, some are not so beautiful. People get attached to these buildings, and you ask them each place, why do you love this building? Why do you love it? And they melt instantly, and they tell you why they love it. And it's always a wonderful story about why someone loves a building, and that's beautiful.
Yeah, it is quite remarkable. The title of the series is The Architecture the Railways Built.
Yes, it's a long hashtag, I'll tell you that.
Yeah, that's true. And there are so many things that are there because of the railways, even whole towns that wouldn't have existed without them, that we often forget about.
Exactly right. I mean, people who live in Derby know this, that their town is there because of the railway. People live in Swindon, they're there because a lot of it is because of the railway. But a lot outside of this little bubble, these little bubbles don't really think about it. I mean, on a grand scheme of things, really, Britain's railway pretty much created modern Britain, if not the world. This is what I would say to people, because not only does it standardise time, and for example, TfL, do you know this? But TfL, Transport for London, they're the people basically created the pay by the kind of you pay by your credit card, touch in, touch out. They created that with the banks.
Wow!
It's because we have like touch, what do you call it? Chip and pin
contactless,
contactless,
yeah.
rather contactless. That exists because of Transport for London saying we want people, our customers, to not have to carry so much stuff like an Oyster card, and let's see if we can put the Oyster card stuff into a credit card. And they got a bank to do it. They went, hang on, we can merge these. Let's merge two together. And they went, no, micropayments, that'll never take off. And it took off in London in this trial, and it went like a wildfire across the world. So it's things like standardised time in Britain. But you say these towns and cities, even the towns where the railway's gone now, perhaps, the railway's still writ large in the town because they enable people to travel there as tourists and so on. And there's a town in Devon called Oakhampton, and it lost its railway back in 1971, and it got it back last year. And it's something extraordinary. Like I couldn't go to Oakhampton. I don't have a car in London.
Yeah.
I couldn't go to Oakhampton, so it was off my map. I'd forgotten it existed. But suddenly Oakhampton's now on a map because the railway's back. So suddenly I think about it. I could go there on holiday. I could go to Dartmoor. I could take my bike down there. Hang on a minute, that town is now accessible. And so by connecting up railways, or connecting up towns, the railways have kind of put people back in consciousness.
Yeah.
And 250,000 people have gone to Oakhampton on that railway line in the last year.
Wow.
It's just like, what? Build more railways again. Let's do this again. This is fun. People like using it.
Yeah. In this series, where else do we go? Obviously, in the first episode, it's the Forth Bridge. It's hard to beat that, of course. But are there more exciting places?
I'm not biased, I'm listening. But we go to Scotland, actually. We go to Manchester as well. Look at one of Manchester's modernist stations built out of wood and glass, so it was light to fit on top of this railway viaduct back in the 60s. And we go and look at the Channel Tunnel. They gave us access to the tunnel. We drove a car down the access tunnel, down the middle.
Oh, wow.
We actually broke down. So I'm on a few people in the world that actually broke down in the Channel Tunnel in the car.
No.
Nightmare. We go all over the place. Down to Devon, look at Brunel's incredible atmospheric vacuum-powered railway along the seafront at Devon, and Oakhampton as well. We go look at that. We look at a Scarborough funicular cliff lift. We go to York and look at the National Network Rail Archives, the first ever TV crew to be trusted to go into there. and then we go and look at the National Railway Museum, and we go and pull out incredible things that haven't been seen in public, architectural relics, haven't been seen in public, and the original copies of things have never been seen by public, for generations. And we go and get expert curators to bring them out, and they love what they do there, and it's wonderful.
That's amazing. And back to the Forth Bridge as well. I'm guessing you probably went there on a train. That would make the most sense. But I know you've got a fear of heights, but if you ever take off from Edinburgh Airport and the wind direction is right, you get the best view of the Forth Bridge that you could ever get.
I'd be torn because I don't know if I could go by plane. If I had to go by plane, I would, and so I do. But if I can take the train somewhere these days, because I think we should be flying less and taking electric trains far more for the good of the future. I always try and take the train because obviously going to and from London, why would you take the plane?
Yeah.
But if you get flying, of course, somewhere else, absolutely. I'll take that. That's a good tip.
Yeah, I think they've done some experiments on it, and it's about literally 5 minutes quicker to take the plane between Edinburgh and London, so you might as well take the train, and it's cheaper and less stressful.
And you sit down in a seat, and you've got a table or a pull-out thing, and you can get on with your stuff, and you haven't got to move constantly and go onto an airport transfer, sit in a horrible waiting. You sit in one place, and actually you get to see, and also that view, that bit of train track that runs, just south of Edinburgh, you go on the coast, don't you, down towar's Berwick. Yeah,
that's beautiful.
Oh my goodness! I mean, there are fewer parts to the and that is what a stonking bit of railway line. And the views, and just and you get to walk up and down, and you arrive at King's Cross, one of the greatest railway stations in the world, I think personally. And what a way to enter London! And it's two capital cities, two of the great capital cities of Europe. connected by this electric railway line. I think that's a lovely thing.
Well, Series 4 of the Architecture the Railways Built continues on Tuesday night at 8 p.m. on Yesterday. Is that all right?
That's the one.
Perfect. Well, many thanks for talking to us today. It's been great to have you on.
Thank you, Toby. Thank you for having me.